Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the sample tools and things that we have done in the previous examples to clean up a CSV file that we might have. So I have a folder set up here that has two of my files. So one is going to be the Thonny file or the Python file that I have here. That's going to be my school lunch one that I'm running here. Then I have my school lunch poll CSV. So if we pull that up, we can have a look at it. I have the student IDs which are here. There might be some duplicates. These are just numerical, so we'll have to look at that. I have a name field where I have some blanks, so we might have to look at how we're going to handle that. I have an age field, so some of those have text which we have to see what we're going to deal with. Some of them have blanks, and then you have an example that has an extreme value that shouldn't be here, so we look at how we would deal with that. Then we have our favorite lunch. So again, we've got some normal things, we've got some blanks, and then we've just got some none and none down below here. Our rating, so how they rate the food itself. So again, we've got some blanks, we've got some text, and we've got some other things that say not a number. And then I have these two extra columns that we're going to get rid of because we're not going to use it in the analysis. So I'm just showing you how we can drop those columns in a second. Okay, so we're going to use pandas for this. So as per the rest of the ones that we've looked at, I'm going to import pandas as PD. That should be a fairly simple enough step. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up a data frame, the same as all of the rest. We're going to have df.pd, so PD is pandas, and what we're going to do is we're going to read the CSV. Okay, so read the CSV. What CSV do we need to find? We need to find the name of what the CSV is called. So if I just click on this, I should be able to go and copy this name. And then remember now we have to put .csv at the end of it, and this works because they're in the same folder. Now when you're specifying the CSV as well, it has to be in quotes. So I'm just going to pop this into quotes, and that's going to read that CSV into what we're actually doing. Okay, so what we can do is we can print then the original data. So we're just going to get it to print out the actual data frame just to make sure that it actually is coming in as we want it to. So if I go here, we should be able to see, if I move this up, I can see all of the data there has come in, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, that seems to be cool. Okay, so all of the data seems to have come in there. It's not showing me the middle ones, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now what I can do is I can actually comment out these two lines that I'm going to do here so that it's not going to run that each time that I run my piece of code. I'll move on to the next step in the next video. Okay, so it's good practice when you're actually doing all of these pieces of code that you import small little sections. So I've just put step 1, that's going to be importing the CSV file into the data frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put step 2 then as well, that's going to be here. So step 2, now that we've identified that 2 of the columns are going to be additional, that we don't need them, what we're going to do is we're actually going to get rid of them. So we're going to drop some extra columns. So I'm just going to say drop extra columns. So that's going to be step 2 that we're going to be doing in this. I've just put the stars in there just so that it separates each section. So when I'm doing my video about these things at the end, I can define out what each section is going to be. So I'm just going to come down here a few lines so that we're just going to focus on step 2. Now if we take a look at the CSV file, I have this extra column 1 and extra column 2. They're going to be the two names that I'm going to need to get rid of. So I'm just going to copy one of them so that I have the exact name, and the other one is just different by the number 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to look at the code that I need to use for this. Okay, so I have data frame, which I have already, and I'm going to say data frame dot drop, and this is going to drop a column. So I want to say column, and then what I want to do is I'm going to say I want to drop the column that is going to be named. So we're going to go with this square bracket, quotation mark, extra column 1, and then another quotation mark, quotation mark here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a comma, and then it's going to be extra column 2. So open the quotation mark, control V, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of 1, and I'm going to have, I'll get get rid of this quote down below here as well. Okay, so extra column 2. Just after this, I want another quotation mark just to close that. We need to close this square bracket that's here, so closing the square bracket, and then we need to close this curly bracket, or the rounded bracket as well. So we're going to get that rounded bracket closed there. So that's going to be the command that we're going to do. And then just so that we can see what way this is going, we want to print a comment that's going to be saying dropped extra columns. Okay, so it's just going to print out that statement, and then what we wanted to do is we want to print the data frame. So now when we run this, okay, so I have an error in my typing. Columns, sorry. So if I run this again, so now we should be able to see that those 2 extra columns at the end have been taken away, so they don't appear to be there, because the last column appears to be the favorite lunch and the rating. Okay, so in the next video we'll go into the next section. Okay, so in the last step we dropped some extra columns, so I'm just going to copy and paste this again. So copy, and we're going to pop this in here. So this is going to be step number 3, and then we will say what that will be in a second. Just so that it's not printing out these print statements the whole time, if I don't need them, I'm just going to comment them out. So these are going to be commented out, and I might just press a space there so that it separates out my step 3. Okay, so we're looking at step 3. So step 3, what we're going to do is we're going to remove duplicate rows. Okay, so if there's similar information like John that has the same number or whatever, we're going to remove that. So if we go to data frame, we're going to say data frame is equal to data frame dot drop, similar to the previous one, but now what we're going to do is we're going to say drop duplicates. Okay, so duplicates, and then we're not going to give any restrictions, so we're just going to now print, similar to the last one, removed duplicate rows, so bracket, and then what we're going to do is just going to print again the data frame, so df, close our brackets, and then we're going to run this. So if there is any duplicate rows, it should have gotten rid of those so that we don't have to deal with them. Okay. So we'll move on to step 4 in the next video. Okay, so now we're going to look at missing values and how we're going to deal with them. So that's going to be step 4. So if I come in here, the first missing value that we're going to look at is going to be the name field. So step 4 is going to be handling missing names. Okay, so if we take a look at our CSV, it only appears once that we have a missing name, but it doesn't matter whether it's once or whether it's multiple times or whether it doesn't happen at all. It is good for you to have something in place that's able to handle a missing value. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what do we have to substitute it for. So I'm going to substitute it for the word anonymous, because we're just going to say that it's going to be anonymous, whoever filled that out. Okay, so if we look at that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the data frame that we've already created, and in the name field, so I'm going to go with my square brackets, quotation marks, and I'm going to go with name, because that's what the column is called. I'm going to say that I want it equals to data frame, and then our square bracket, and again name. This should have a capital, because that's what it's named inside in the CSV. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill NA. So NA, non-applicable, or anything that's blank basically. And what we're going to do then is we're going to say that we want to fill it with anonymous. So we're going to go with anonymous. Maybe we'll give it a capital letter. And then at the end we'll give it our quotes, and we're going to close our bracket there. Okay, now again, similar to this, I'm going to say print, and then we're going to say filled missing name. Quotes. And then we're going to do the same thing as we have here. We're going to print the data frame. Now, just so that we're not printing this step again, similar to what I've done before, I'm just going to comment these out, and I'm going to press space on that. So now I can run this, and I can see, has it replaced a missing name with something for me? So if I take a look at the output, I can see all of the names that are here, and anonymous has been added to this one. So that's been effective, and it has worked. So in the next one, we're going to go and we're going to look at invalid and missing ages. So we're going to do two things in one. Okay, so step 5, what we're going to do is we're going to fix invalid and missing ages. So the first thing that we have to do here is we're going to replace invalid ages. So there's a few things that we need to look at here. So if we go to the data, we have our ages. So I have somebody who's not born yet, I have somebody who has a value of 999, and I have some blanks as well. So we have to deal with those three cases when it comes to tidying up our data. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to look at our df and bracket capital A G E, and this should be in quotation marks. Now we're going to use this a lot, so I'm just going to copy that element there so that I'm not making mistakes the whole time. So I'm going to say that I want to leave it equal to, and then we're going to have df age dot replace. Okay, and then what I want to replace is I want to replace certain values. So not born yet is going to be 1 that we will replace, and then also value of 999. Okay, so they're the two values that we're going to replace. Now these values should be in square brackets like that, and then what we're going to replace them with is going to be none. Okay, so it's just going to replace them with a blank. The next thing that we want to do is we're going to convert age to numeric values, because at the moment when it's brought in, it's just brought in as a string. So again, I'm going to have df of the age. What we're going to do is we're going to use pandas, so pd, and what we're going to do is dot to underscore numeric. And for this, what it's going to do is it's going to convert any values that are there to be a numeric value, and then we're going to have df age, and then what we're going to do is we need to put in a way for it to work with any errors. So there's a thing called coerce that will just handle that for us. So I'm going to just pop that in there. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove any values that might be unrealistic. So imagine that we've got a number that's going to be 120. We need to look at what's going to be the maximum number that's going to be here. So maybe 120 is the max, the age that anybody would have. So we're going to do that. So we're going to have df of age. We're going to say that that's going to be equal to the df of age, but what we're going to do is we're going to apply something to it. So the thing that we want to apply is going to be what we call a lambda function. So lambda. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say that none if x is not none and x is greater than 120, else x. Okay, so if you want, I can zoom out on this a small bit so that we can see a bit more of it. Okay, so we have all of that there. Okay, so df of age is equal to df of age dot apply. This is the thing that we're going to be applying to it. So the lambda none if x is not none. Sorry, this should be capital N. And x is greater than 120, else x. So we're going to look at that. And then what we want to do is we want to look at the median age. So we're just going to come up with a new variable, and this is going to be called median underscore age. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the data frame again of age. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave it equal to the median of this. So we're just going to use the inbuilt tools just to calculate the median. We don't have to go the long way around this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the data frame of age is equal to the data frame of the age dot fill NA, and we're going to fill it then with the median age. So if we look at this, what we're doing is we're calculating what the median age of the data frame element of age, so the column that has the age, we want to work out what the median of that value is. So we're using the .median command to do that. It's a built-in command inside in Python, so we don't have to go the long way about doing it. And then what we're doing is we're saying for the data frame of age, if you have something that has nothing in it, so fill NA, non-applicable things, we want to put in the median age instead of something that doesn't have any value. And then lastly, what we want to do is we want to print fixed ages, and then we're going to print the data frame. Okay, so I think I have put a typo in this. Okay, so one error that I made myself is that instead of error here, it should be just errors, plural. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to run this. And once we run this, that should have solved the issues that we had here with our ages. Okay, so similar to before, what we're going to do is I'm going to comment out these print statements because we don't want them impacting on our next step. And we're just going to copy the 3 lines that I had here. So this is going to be step 6 that we're looking at. So step 6 is going to look at filling in any missing lunches. Okay, so any missing lunches that are in the CSV. So if we take a look at the CSV, inside in the favorite lunch here, there's some blanks that are here, and I also have this none one that's here, so we'll have to deal with that somehow. Okay, so what we're going to look at is going on to the next line. We're going to have df, so we're looking at the data frame, and the column that we're going to be looking at is the favorite lunch option. So if we want, we can just copy that from there. I'm going to put a quotation mark, favorite lunch, quotation mark, oops, quotation mark, and we're going to close that bracket. Because we're going to be looking at this a lot, I'm just going to copy that off, and we're going to say is equal to df favorite lunch, and then what we want to do is we want to fill NA with no lunch. So this is just going to take anything that's not applicable or doesn't have a value in there, and it's going to replace it with no lunch. And then what we want to do is we're going to go again with this, so we're going to copy this. So we're going to go df favorite lunch is equal to df favorite lunch, and what we're going to do is we're going to replace where it had none, where it says none, and we're going to replace that with no lunch as well, so comma, and this is just going to be bracket no lunch. Okay, so that's how you would replace just a value that seems to occur. Okay, so each time that you want to replace something, you'd put that line in there, and then same as before, we're going to go and we're going to print these things out. So we're going to print fixed lunch, and then we might have print df for data frame. So now if we run this, oh sorry, I put in the wrong thing here. So print df. So now we can see that the no lunch is in here, we've no lunch, and we have no lunch. Okay, so there, it's in there a few times, and that's fine, but we've replaced it, so that's good. So we'll move on to step 7 next. Okay, so nearly at the finish line, just 2 more steps to this, so I'm just going to paste in step 6, and this is going to be step 7. So fixing the ratings for lunch. Okay, so we're going to fix the ratings for lunch. I'm going to comment out once again the print statements that are here so that we're not running them, and I'm going to scroll down here a small bit. I might clear the console so that we don't get mixed up with anything that's going to be there. Now what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the values that are here, so the ratings that are here. So I'm missing some ratings, and I have these gobbledygook, and I have not a number, so we need to look at how we're going to handle those pieces of data. So again, we're going to look at the data frame. What we're looking at this time is we're looking at the rating, so that's this value here, so I'm just going to copy it, and then we have our quotes, rating, and that's going to go after that, and our bracket. Because we're going to be using this a few times, I'm going to copy that, and what we're going to do is we're going to say for the rating, we're going to say PD dot to numeric. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before, okay, to change this value into a numeric value. We're doing that first so that we can use it for calculations and stuff like that later on. Okay, so what we're going to do is PD is pandas to numeric, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the df of the rating, and again we're going to have errors. Don't make the same error that I did, so it's errors, and then we're going to have course like that. Okay, so that's just going to handle the errors. So we're changing that to numeric values. The next thing that we're going to have is we're going to have the df rating. We're going to say that if the df rating fill NA, so we're looking at any time that there's an NA, we want it to take the df rating, and we're going to get it to fill in the mean this time. Okay, so we looked at the median value before, this is going to get the mean. So that's going to replace any value that's not applicable or not an effective number, and it's going to change it to the mean. So now we're going to print off cleaned rating value like that, and then we're going to print the data frame again. So now when we run this, we should now see that all of these have a rating, and some of them have been replaced by the mean. So now the last step that we have to do is we have to save all this. So I'll deal with that in the next step. Okay, so nearly there. Last step that we're going to do is we're going to save this as a CSV. So I'm just going to comment out the 2 lines that we're there because I don't want them to run in the next section. And I'm going to pop this in here. So step 8, this is going to be saving to CSV, because this is going to be the cleaned version of the file that we have. So what we need to do there is I'm going to go with my data frame dot to underscore CSV. That's going to transfer it to a CSV. What do we want to name the thing? So maybe school underscore lunch cleaned dot CSV, and then we'll close our quotes, and then we're going to have index is equal to false. Okay, and then all we want to do just to check to make sure that it's working, so we'll have cleaned CSV saved as school underscore lunch underscore cleaned dot CSV. So now that we run that, It's going to say okay, so it's saved that, and if I go back to the folder, you should see now that I have my cleaned CSV that's inside here. That if I open it up, it should have all of those values nice and tidied for me. So if I zoom in on that, you can see that I have my student ID, I have my name, I have my ages, I have my favorite lunch, including the ones that have no lunch, and then my ratings are there, and that is my mean rating then as well.